Hey, my friends, how are we today? So, I brought back Noelle Satisfies Soul. She, she was on episode 40. So, if you haven't gone and listened or watched that, that was episode 40, how we talked about using EFT to bypass the mind and get into the body, which EFT has been one of my most favorite ways to get into the body. So, thank you for coming back, Noelle. We're going to talk about worthiness, and I should say maybe our worthiness wounds, lack of worthiness, or what we're feeling, and how that shows up in our business, and how to kind of work through, give some tips for the listeners and watchers, and all of the things. So, thank you, Noelle, for coming back and playing today.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be back.
So let's dive in. I don't think I introduced you. Like Noelle is a worthiness coach, right? And she does EFT practitioner. I'm like, oh. So yeah. So we've done sessions before, and how EFT and both of us, right, are big believers in. Let me just simplify it for everybody, really, right? Like we think there's all of these like things that we need to. Well, first of all, we don't have to work on anything. And the things that really move the dial are worthiness, deservedness, and lovability, right? Like if we could always just come back to those three things, let's keep it simple. Like that's what it's about, right?
Yeah, it is. But, simple, not simple.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, lots of onion peeling, and also like everything at the core of it, right, is really, it all comes back to, like, I've never had anything that I've ever been coached on never come back to worthiness, deservedness, and lovability.
Okay, that was going to be one of my notes, so I'm going to say it again at the end. But yeah, agreed.
Yeah. You want to talk about that right now, or you want to wait till the end to share that, what you were going to say about that?
Maybe let's wait until the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about worthiness.
Yeah. Worthiness. What is it?
Yeah.
What is it? And it's a difficult thing. It's like a social construct.
Yeah.
Put in place to like hit us against each other, right? I mean, it is. JK. I mean, I feel like that is more unworthiness.
Yeah.
If you want to say that, not worthiness. But if we were talking about like, if we were to Google it right now, Google will tell us it's something like the quality of being good enough or suitable enough or deservedness. And I think it actually says like deserving of attention or respect. And so this is such like a trigger thing for me. So everybody please excuse me, but this is what I'm worthiness coach, okay? I get really worked up about it. And I just want to say it out loud. You don't need anything to be worthy.
Yes.
And just saying that, I know I've triggered like half of you watching, but that's okay because we're gonna talk about it. And I'm not saying that, okay, well, we're all worthy, even though we are. So that means we don't have to do anything, even though we don't. But as a human being, we're not going to be satisfied not doing anything. Okay? Each of us are designed, we talk about human design here. Each of us are designed in a very individual, specific way to fulfill an individual, specific purpose. And I was just on a human design call talking about the collective. So it's not just about individuality, it's about kind of like fine tuning and stepping into your individuality so that you can then like add to the collective in the most optimal way that you're meant to, because only you can do it. Only you can do it. And worthiness is a part of that, where it's something that is ingrained in us as a human being. It just comes with being human. It just comes with it. And it cannot be altered. You can't up level in worthiness. You can't downgrade your level of worthiness. It is always, you're just worthy. That's what it is. But what happens is the minute that we're born, maybe not the minute, because when we're born, we're cute and huggable and we're perfect. And everyone's just like, oh, this little baby is worthy of everything. And then we start developing personalities and ways of being that are in alignment with who we are, but may not be in alignment with the people around us, even though they love us, right? Mommy loves you, daddy loves you, grandma loves you, but they already have their own expectations in their head. And they're going to put it on you because they want the best for you, not knowing whether or not that expectation that is good for them is good for you. And then, so as we're growing, and this is something that happens from a very young age, it's like, okay, well, I'm loud and expressive. And they're like, no, 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 no. Use your inside voice, Noelle. That wasn't me. I'm actually a very introverted person. I know you can't tell right now, but that's where I'm coming from. But, for me, it's like, go talk to the other children, go socialize. And I'm like, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
But in my head now I'm thinking, okay, but that means something's wrong with me. If I don't socialize, that means I'm not good enough, and all the other children will think I'm not good enough. And mommy wants me to socialize, so now I'm not good enough for mommy. And it's just all of these layers of messaging that we're not good enough. So,
and we're not, can I interrupt real quick, Noelle?
Yeah.
And we're not like consciously thinking of this, right? Like all of this, a lot of this happens, right? Probably, maybe before age 7 from a subconscious standpoint. Maybe it doesn't, maybe it happens after, but it's not like, and tell me if you agree with this too. It's not like we're like thinking those, like exactly what you're saying. It's not like we're thinking that, but those are the messages that our bodies receive.
Yeah.
And then we go and live that out because those become beliefs by absorption, or by what we perceive or take in from the world and caretakers and parents and all of that.
And that's exactly what I meant by in the beginning, when you're like, hey, it's simple, it's just these things. And I'm like, simple, not simple, because it's not just our minds taking in the message that, oh, we're disappointing someone, or we're not meeting this expectation. It's a feeling that we get.
Yeah.
It's a clue that we're picking up in other ways, but then we don't really know how to deal with those things. So it gets kind of like trapped in, which brings into, it incorporates that consciousness versus subconscious thing that Erin is mentioning, where it's no longer just a conscious thing that we have to deal with. For most of us, we don't even know that it's a worthiness issue. We don't know that's what it is, or an unworthiness issue. We don't make that connection. And then inherently, without anyone having to teach us this, or without anyone having to like put out the vibe that they're uncomfy with how we are, it's just inherent, because we are social creatures. We are emotional beings. We need to connect with each other. That's also something that's just in us. So we don't have to be told, okay, well, if I'm not connecting, then something is wrong with me. We're just going to feel that, So yeah, it's it's a problem.
When I wouldn't say, did you say problem?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd say problem, right? I think like everyone goes through it. And I think when I said simple and you said not simple, it's like, what is the thing that we can always like, yes, it's layers and layers, and as a reminder to like always come back to, like, we think like our brains are going to want to give us all of these other things. And it's like, and also like at the core, like, okay, where do I not feel worthy? Where do I not feel deserving? And what you said, I love, because I remember a coach telling me this. It's like our lovability, like same thing with worthiness, right? Like we are all lovable. No, for doing nothing. But our level of lovability has nothing to do with us and everything to do with the person and their capacity to how much can they give love and receive love, right? And so I think that, you were talking about as babies, we come out and like there comes a point in time. And so for those of you listening and watching, and maybe it's several points, but I know it was, for me, it's probably around 10 or 12, that there was a point in time where it was like, and I don't want to say it wasn't okay to be, but it was almost like, okay, it's time to start doing things, earning things. And so whether that be, lots of people I'll talk to, right? Whether that be grades or earning, air quotes, earning your keep around the house, or like you need to put in with help with the family, or like there's even when I've talked to my husband, he has around 12 or 14, he was like, yeah, there was a point in time when it wasn't okay to just hang out and be a kid. I
Yeah.
needed to do something to,
Hmm.
yeah, earn the keep is what like comes up a lot. And so I think that it doesn't necessarily have to be or is one specific moment in time, but there is a shift of like one of the times I remember a coach asking me, so is it okay for a baby to just like deserve and is a baby worthy of all the love and everything? And I was like, of course. And I was like, okay. And then she kind of went up for me. She was like, okay, what about a 2-year-old? I'm like, of course. And so as she kept climbing the age, 5, yes, 7, of course. Like, why would you expect that? And then there was that shift around 10 to 12 where it was like, maybe not so much, like you're capable,
Yeah.
you need to be doing some more stuff. And
Yes.
so that can be something that, you guys can play with of like, what is an age? Like if I don't encourage people to look outside of themselves, but for this example, like what is an age that you see a baby? Is a baby okay and worthy and deserving of love and worthy? And then like what age is there where your mind starts to kind of like negotiate with like, maybe not so much,
Yeah.
And it's just fascinating to kind of see like there we do have an age of where we feel like it's okay to just be there, and then the worthiness and deservedness kind of changes.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I see that there's an age where we need to start earning our keep. We're here taking up all this space, okay? And not paying for it. So it's like, what are we doing to earn? But this is where we get a
Yep.
message mixed up. Are we, what we're earning isn't like,
Love and worthy and deservedness.
yes, yes, thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
We're on the same page. That's not what we're earning,
We're
but we
contributing.
need to feel that that's what it is.
Yeah.
You're teaching your child the value of a dollar, okay, but we need to separate that out where it's not okay. You're working because you want to make money so that you can take care of yourself because you are worth it, young man or young woman, is what we should be saying.
Hmm.
Not, you know, why didn't you do this?
Yeah.
Or why didn't you do that? You know, you need to learn this because if you don't, no one will like you. And of course, a parent isn't going to say that, I hope. But that's kind of like the underpinning message.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because again, parents by and large are doing what they do because they think it's, for the best.
Helpful.
They think it's helpful.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
Ask
Yeah.
that, like, what age is it where we can't just be anymore? We have to kind of like
Yeah. And
earning, start earning to be.
yeah. And I think also of like having compassion for our parents.
Yeah.
I think Noelle, you're younger than me, and but I think our generation, right? Like our parents. Did you give me that look?
Like, am I? We'll talk about that later, Erin. We'll see.
um but our parents generation, right, and their generation very much of like you do earn your keep, you do like they are, it's like our parent, and I always say this of like having compassion and love for our parents and their parents because they were doing the best that they could with what they had consciousness wise, right? And the same thing can be said for our children, right? Like they'll be at a different consciousness raising their kids than we are at ours. And so just it's not, I never look at it as like our parents, they don't do this like you're saying, Noelle, they don't do this intentionally. Their intention is to empower us and to help us. It's just sometimes the messages we receive are ones of like, okay, I'm not contributing enough, or I'm not keeping up, or and we
Yeah.
attach all of these stories and meanings to our being.
Yeah.
So, in terms of, I should say, how have you seen, or you want to talk about how does lack of worthiness, should I say lack of worthiness, or should I say our worthiness wounds? That's maybe a better, like, because we're all worthy, right? Like, so how
Yeah.
does our worthiness wounds show up in our business if we haven't tended to them?
Hmm. The biggest way I see is imposter syndrome
Hmm.
across the board. Where
And for those of you that may not know, what is imposter syndrome?
it's that feeling of I don't know enough, um, do enough, I'm somehow unsuitable, undeserving of this role that I'm in. And it comes up all the time for many different reasons. And this is, well, I don't want to, we're talking about in business. I'm good for going off on a tangent. You have to keep me in check, Erin. But imposter syndrome. And what I find super interesting is that when you really look at it, it's not based in truth. It's not based in a real thing.
Mhm.
Other ways it shows up in business, you're talking about like owning your own business.
Yeah, just like, what I have seen or where I didn't feel, worthy or clients, it's like if you don't feel your worthiness wound of like to rest, to take time off,
It's a huge
to
one.
say no. Like I hear lots of like, well, I'm being lazy. It's like, what if lazy doesn't actually exist? What if you are a little scared? What if you are unsure? What if you are maybe just burnt out? Or what if you haven't given your body the rest that it deserves? Like so much of like how it shows up is almost like this pushing and this striving and this earning of,
Yes.
versus knowing and like learning to say no more often. And just I see it a lot of like rest and play. Like,
Mhm.
well, I haven't done all my work. I can't go play or go have fun. It's like, you know,
I don't deserve to
mhm,
take a break. I have
yep,
not done enough.
yep.
Actually talking to a client who is very stressed out at work. And then when we traced it back, it was because she was one of those children whose parents, she would come home with her report card and it's like A plus, A plus, A plus, A plus, A minus. And then the parents were like, uh, what is this A minus?
Yep.
What is that? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
no acknowledgement of like, okay, well, first of all, they're all A's.
Yeah.
And then secondly, all the other ones were A pluses. So then now, as a grown adult, highly, highly, highly qualified in her position, every day she struggles with, I don't know enough. This is too much. And she's under an insane amount of work. And that's the other thing where we can't say, no, I'm tired, like you're saying, no, this is too much. You know, we have to find a way to do this superhuman amount of work,
Mhm.
even though we're just human. And if we can't do it, then we're not good enough.
Yeah.
It's bananas. It's bananas.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if we trace it back, so like I'll ask her, okay, so what is the evidence that you're not doing a good job? Do people tell you that? Are your coworkers and your managers telling you you're not doing a good job? No, they say I'm doing wonderfully. They're saying that I'm doing really well. I'm like, so where is this coming from? So again, it's not a conscious thing.
Yep.
It is that deep wound from that client who was 7, 8, 9, you know.
Yep.
Little client is the one thinking, oh my gosh, this is too much work, even though I'm doing everything I can and I'm doing okay, even though she's doing excellently. I got an A minus here. I am no longer worthy.
It's like the expectation to do, like you just said, superhuman things. It's like good enough isn't good enough, right? Like there's this, and it's all, when I say it's all created within our minds, it's not a like, it's not coming from a place of like, it's our fault. It's just like, this is what happens when we receive these messages and then we don't slow down to pay attention to like how is this actually showing up for us, because she might think I just need to work harder or I just need to you know, what other, if we go to the place of like action of like, what else do I need to be doing
Yeah.
versus what is this belief or what is this feeling that I'm feeling on a consistent basis that
Mhm.
is having me doing these things, you know?
Yeah.
And um I always say, like, I think that with the grades, like we just move that right into business, right? Business and making
Yeah.
money. Like if we have been children that, because I think a lot of people in business, and my brother said this and I was like, wow, he's like, my therapist said, you know what, Stephen, people that have like had what we were talking about money, but I think it's true for worthiness too. He was like, people that have had a good relationship with money don't go into business to make money. They go into for a creative expression or to serve, and money's a byproduct. And I think that that's true too with worthiness, right? Like when you're going into business to like prove yourself, or you're trying to, you know, that little child inside wants that like atta girl, atta boy,
Yeah.
versus doing it from the fun and the joy and the creative expression of doing business and having fun and serving the world and all of that kind of fun stuff. The when we haven't tended to those wounds, it shows up in that, it shows up in those ways.
Absolutely. And it is quite a devastating thing because here we are trying to meet this expectation, whether it be real or not real.
Yeah.
And that requires us to kind of like change ourselves into something we're not, when the role that we're meant to fill is not being filled fully because we're trying to fit something else.
And
Do
we're
you know what
trying to like receive it outside of ourselves, right? Like we're trying to receive, we're trying to meet that tender part of us from a place outside of ourselves versus tending to
I mean? Mhm.
some of those wounds that we have within, right? Is that what you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And um worthiness, lack of, no, we can't say lack of
Yeah,
worthiness.
I know. I'm like, I'm trying to say, like, because I feel like it's like what Abraham says. It's like everything is abundance and it's just a lack of. And when I mean lack of, I mean, it's like there is no scarcity. It's just lack of abundance. And so it's like everyone is worthy, but we just have that belief that we aren't. But it isn't that we're lacking worthiness. It's just
Right.
you know, we have wounding that's having us believe that we aren't worthy.
Mhm. So the unworthiness lie, can we call it that? The unworthiness lie?
Yeah, I like that. That's a good
Okay.
one.
The other issue with this is that it's super taboo. We can't just go around saying, yeah, I don't feel worthy. Because if we could and it was acceptable, then we wouldn't have things like imposter syndrome. We would just go and talk to our manager and be like, this is what I'm feeling. Can you help me?
Mm,
Can't do that. We can't just go on Instagram and post, I don't feel good enough. Because that's not what we do on Instagram. We show the best versions. We used to show the best versions of our reality. Now we create the best version of something that is supposed to slightly resemble reality and put it out there. It's like, no, this is my everyday life. We can't go out and ex, um, exclaim to people, I don't feel like I'm good enough.
yeah.
We don't feel safe. That's not a safe area for us.
Yeah.
But it's crazy because we all feel that. We all feel that in some aspects, but we can't get together and talk about it, because of that fear of, okay, well, if I actually say it out loud, then it's true. They probably weren't even thinking that I was unworthy, but now they definitely do. If I'm thinking that, then it must be true. They're going to know, you know? So difficult.
Yeah. I was also going to say, you know, one of the things is sometimes, do you think worthiness also ties into compassion for ourselves? Like, are we, because what I wrote down is like asking yourself, like, if Noelle was coming to me and telling me these things, like a lot of times we'll have all of these stories in our head. But if we think about if our friend was saying that to us, we would be adamant, like, what are you talking about? Like, no, you absolutely deserve, you know? And so one of the things to ponder or think about is like, if you were talking to your friend, would you have that same dialogue and that same those same beliefs if they were coming to you, or would you be supportive and loving and compassionate and curious? And, so doing some of that for yourself, because I think sometimes the compassion piece is maybe a little bit more difficult for us because we haven't practiced that as much as we have the beating ourselves up and all of that.
Yeah. But that's built into our societal norms, is it not? Like, we need to make sure that we're taking care of each other. It's
Mm,
selfish to
yeah,
think of
the
this,
selfish word.
you know, because it really is an interesting thing. I love to put that into tapping,
Mm,
to bring that part of us up, that subconscious part of us that's believing that story, bring it up to the conscious level so we can make it make sense. Because, yeah, if your best friend was telling you this thing, would you say, yeah, you unworthy piece of you know what? We wouldn't.
yep.
So why is it okay for two human beings, ourselves being one of them, to go through the same thing, but our friend, we have all this compassion and understanding, but when it's us, we're like, no, I am not worthy. I am terrible. I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
So, what would you give as far as tips or, um, yeah, tips to heal and work through those beliefs that you have? Actually, let me back up. You mentioned about how it's kind of like, can you give other examples first? You mentioned about your client with the manager. How else because it can be, I guess, sneaky is also the word that comes to my mind, is like, how is
Okay.
it like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's sneaky, right? Like, that's why I was saying it's so simple. And you're like, but it's not simple. It's like, it always comes back to that. But how else does that show up? Like, I think it shows up in rest and play and, things of that sort. Anything else that has shown up that maybe I haven't mentioned? And then we can dive into the tips and ways to work through it.
Do you mean specifically in business or just generally?
I guess just in general, yeah. Like how else, like if somebody else is listening, how else might it show up that we might not be aware of? But it's Noelle's giving me a look like, girl, it's
No,
everywhere.
okay. It is everywhere. Okay. Everywhere. And I'm saying this not from a place of judgment or you should know this.
Yeah,
Saying this from a place of I've been there.
yeah, both
So
of us.
I know everywhere, every and anywhere in your life that you're stuck, I I'm gonna
Mm,
bet you $100 that there underneath there is a worthiness wound or a belief that you're not lovable. The three things Erin said at the beginning of this talk. Um, you're undeserving, or you're going to end up abandoned and all alone. And all those things are different versions of each other. And if you're telling me, oh, well, okay, well, I've been trying to lose 30 pounds for the last 30 years. Okay, if we work it down, I noticed that some clients don't believe they're worth the transformation that they're after.
mm,
Some clients don't believe that they're worth looking as good as someone who is 30 pounds less. Some clients don't believe that they're worthy to be in their body.
mm,
Um, how else does it show up? Relationship issues.
mm-hmm.
And so this goes back to like trying to put it on something that's outside of yourself, whether that is a person, and you're blaming the other person. Well, they should have done this. And my life is crazy. And obviously, all these things happening to me. Why does this happen to me? It shows over and over again these patterns that we fall into, that I'm not worthy of this thing that I want. But the thing is, we have this saying in we call it subtle body healing. So healing that is not like your physical body, but your
Mm-hmm.
emotional body. Like life is coming from you, not at you. And again, if I triggered
That's
you
good.
guys by saying that, sorry, not sorry. Okay. It's true. If you find yourself stuck in a pattern of things proving to you that you're unworthy, it's because you're sending a signal out that you believe that you're not worthy.
Yeah.
It's that thing of attract, like attracts like. Is that how they
Yep.
say it?
Yep.
And so can we start talking about the tips?
Absolutely.
Okay. We really need to make a mind shift, and then I'm going to undo that a little bit, but we need to make this mind shift that it's not about how suitable or acceptable or qualified we are for that external thing, whether it be person or position, etc. Okay? It's about how suitable said thing is for you and your alignment. Because we have to know who we are, what our alignment is, so that we can know, okay, this is who I am, but I'm trying to be that thing over there. That's why it's not working out. It's not because you don't deserve that thing over there. It's because that thing over there is that thing over there's business. This is your business over here. Your alignment is your business. And that thing, you're not meant for that. It's out of alignment. And so you trying to be over there out of alignment with that thing that is out of alignment with who you are, you're going over there out of your alignment. The thing that is in alignment with you is over here like, hey, I'm over here. I'm over here where you're aligned, but you can't see me because you're not in alignment with who you are. So it's a thing of, it's not about you not being worthy. It's not about you not being suitable. It's about, am I allowed to say the universe? Universal
Yeah,
law.
of course. Universe, God, spirit, source, whatever you want to subscribe to. It's like whatever your thing is, right? Like whatever it is, that's, yeah, absolutely.
That greater knowing is trying really hard to tell you that's not for you, boo.
Yep.
And that's okay. What is for you is going to look better, feel better, fit better for you. That's why you are you. Now, this is different from, the other word that we like to throw around a lot in healing circles is growth, And yes, we can grow into things, but if you're growing because it feels good eventually.
Yeah. I'm like, it's a little uncomfortable on the way there. But once you get there, you're like, yeah.
But there are clues.
Yeah.
It's in alignment because being in alignment feels good.
Yep.
And it is okay to be like, that thing is not for me. That thing is not for me. It's not about me not being for that thing. And then some of us, we have that mind story of, oh, but if I'm saying that thing is not good enough for me, then am I selfish? Again, the selfish word. Am I big-headed? No, you're just who you are, and that's okay. So that's like a mind shift that we have to make. It's not about us being suitable for the thing. It's about, is that in alignment with who I am?
Yep.
Okay, that was one tip.
Okay, that's a good one. Yeah.
Okay. We want to figure out, this is really a good exercise if you're just starting out with like figuring out, am I worthy? What is my relationship to my sense of self-worth? Figuring out what your values are, or figuring out what you value in life. So maybe you make a list, okay, I value this, I value this, I value this. And then you're going to spend time with that list, figuring out why you value each of the things. Where did this value come from? Where did you get it from? Did you get it from your dad? Do I like this because he likes it? Do I like this because society says that if I don't like this, then I will not be loved and I'll be an outcast? Is that why I like this thing? And then if you just want to imagine, maybe you close your eyes, maybe you don't, but you just want to imagine I know this is going to give some of you anxiety, but like for 5 minutes, you can set a timer. Just imagine a world where nobody can judge you or make you feel bad for what you do and you don't value. Just pretend, I know. Just pretend for 5 minutes that that's the world you live in. You're going to go down your list and it's like, you can look over your shoulder if you want. I don't really value this thing. You know, if nobody else could put their say on what it is you personally value, would you actually value it?
Yep.
A good thing to figure out.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to turn toward yourself and the things that you don't want to look at within yourself.
I want to say something real quick, Noelle, here, because here's the deal. That's the fast track. Here we go back to like simple, not simple. It's like if every time something was bothersome to you or triggering to you or whatever that really upset you, if you always was like, but where is this within me? Or where does this show up? Or like, if that was your constant, right? And I know this is a practice, and I know like in the heat of the moment, it really sucks when you're like asking yourself when your kid pisses you off and you're like, but where is this within me? And, and also what Noelle's saying is, without saying, because I interrupted her, is it will keep coming up for you, like that we talk about the universe, God, spirit, source, whatever, is it will keep coming up for you until you are ready to learn the lesson. So if you're not willing, or you don't have, like I always say, like we don't have to do anything. And also sometimes it makes it a lot easier when we're like, okay, I'm ready to look at this, because it will keep coming up in different situations, in different experiences for you until you learn the lesson. Is that a good way to say it, Noelle?
Yes. And when I'm saying you want to look at yourself, is because I want to encourage you to think, even if you don't believe it right now, what you think it is not what it is. So I've been using this analogy because I was this child. I swore there was something under the bed. I swore there was something under there. Okay. You couldn't tell me that there was not a monster under my bed. And I just made him more, or her, they, larger and scarier. I would not look under there. And there was this one night where I really just had to go to the bathroom. And I'm now a 9-year-old. Yes, I still believe there are things under my bed at 9 years old. I don't know if that's weird or not, but I'm most certainly not going to wet the bed. So what do? I'm going to have to, I was like, well, this is the night. We're going to look at this bed. And then I looked under there and there was nothing there. And so that's what I'm saying, where you have to eventually be willing to turn towards yourself so that you can see that there ain't nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you. But you're not going to know that until you look at yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
How did that one end? Okay. And the last thing I would say is start a practice of connecting with your body.
Yes.
I know we don't like to hear it.
But how do you do that? How do you do that? Like I always think about like the Aarons 4 years ago that were like, and then the Aaron's 2 years ago that was like, okay, I've had lots of mindset coaching, but things aren't changing. And then the Aaron now is like, tell me how to get in my body. So like all of those different versions of Aaron, what are some, the levels, I guess, right, of how to do that?
Now, this is tricky because we are all going to have different relationships with, being reactive to a trigger. But it really is, let's say, if you're a person who ruminates a lot, I know there's going to be some of you out there, if you find yourself thinking about something, thinking about it, I want you to ask yourself the question, how is this thought making me feel in my body? We don't realize it some of the time, but it is happening because we are one whole being with multiple different layers, but it's still one large antenna picking up antennae?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yep.
One large receptive tool dealing with whatever it is that you're triggered by.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we're very, very trained to be with our minds. But while we're being with our minds, something in our body is also reacting. So it's what's happened? What is this thought making me feel in my body? Oh, it's making my heart race. How strong is that out of 10? Is that like a 2 out of 10? Is it like a little flutter? Oh no, it's like in my belly. It feels like I just swallowed a rock. We want to make a connection of like a thought being able to affect our physicality. I think it's a good way to start that process of getting reconnected to your body. I mean, tapping, EFT is a
Mm-hmm.
great one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so tapping does everybody here know what
Let's
tapping?
just tell, like, when we say tapping, just explain what that is, just in case if people that are here and listening don't know what that is. What is that? Just a quick little, like, what does that look like and what
Okay.
is it?
You call it like a therapeutic tool. And we're literally just tapping on different hotspots. We're going to say energy hotspots on the body while we're speaking something out loud because we're facilitating the ease of the message to get through our entire systems, not just our mind. Let's just pretend for a moment, even though it's not pretend, it's actually a thing. Our mind speaks one kind of way, it speaks its own language. Your body speaks a different language. And so this is where the discrepancy happens. And this is why we get stuck in our heads and why this may be a conscious, subconscious thing. It's not connecting. It's because we're telling ourselves, oh, we're worthy, or oh, we're safe. We're safe. We're doing the mantras. I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe. But you don't feel safe because your body doesn't speak that language.
Yep.
And so tapping is helping us facilitate that translation because we're tapping on those hot spots. They run along meridians that kind of line up with our physical wiring. If you want to think of like the lymphatic system and our arteries and our veins and things like that, there's just a way in which our minds and our bodies are connected. There's a very specific wiring. We can't really see, but the tapping is helping us traverse that wiring. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And it's really good that you said that because it's like you said, the body doesn't always speak the language of the mind. So you are telling it, like, this is why sometimes mantras or affirmations don't work because your body doesn't believe or feel what your mind is saying. And so, like you're saying, doing the tapping kind of bypasses the mind and gets into your body to just release, right? It's all energy. And if it's there and it's hasn't been moving, then it just allows it to move through your body.
Exactly. Any practice where you can turn your attention to what your body is doing is good. If it's just like a very rigorous workout, because we want it to be something that is rigorous enough for your mind to be in the body. So a nice walk in the park, you're still like up here, like la la la, the sun is beautiful. I'm wondering what I'm having for dinner. So that's good for your physicality. But when it comes to our practice that's going to get you in your body, we want to make it something that gives your mind so much work to do. It can't like sabotage. It can't get in there and spiral you out with like the mind story, you know?
Yeah.
So anything that's tactile would be a good thing to do.
I always say playing too. Like, I know this might bring up even more worthiness stories, but like playing is like you're saying, you're just so focused in the thing that you're doing. Like, think about a little kid when they're playing, they are just in their bodies doing the thing, whatever it is, right? And so what are the things that you might have done as a little kid that you enjoyed, and going and doing those to help get you in your body?
Yeah. And please know and remember that compassion piece, this is not an easy thing. It's simple enough, but when it comes to our capability, it's not because you're not good enough.
Yep.
It's because this is something that has been ingrained in you, in me. For me, it's been decades and decades and decades, almost another decade. It's been a long time, you know? And so we have to be patient with ourselves,
Yes.
undoing this work or undoing the work of undoing this.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be perfect. And even when you do figure out your worthiness wound, it's not like you'll never feel a low sense of self-worth or feel unworthy ever again. You probably will, but you're going to have the tools to remember, oh, that's not real. This unworthiness thing is a lie. I'm still a badass. I can do this, you know?
And I always say like your recovery time, right? Like Noelle and I were talking before the podcast and she was like, well, I was like, I don't like using the word heal. And I was like, it's not that I don't like using it. It's just that I don't believe there will ever be a point where we're like all done, right? It's just for me, what I've noticed is the recovery time just gets faster. And every time I air quote what I call up level, right? Like as I'm going outside my comfort zone, as I'm evolving, as I'm, that kind of stuff, it's the worthiness does come up, right? But like you said, and you have the tools now and you're able to get back to, what would you call it? I don't want to say baseline, but that's the word that comes to mind. Like you're just able to, those stories don't hang around. Like those stories used to hang around for days or weeks. And now they're like, maybe a couple hours or minutes, or depending on what it is. Right. And so when I say recovery, it's just like the belief, the you don't believe it like you used to, and it doesn't stay as long as it used to. That's kind of the way it feels like for me, if that's
This is a process.
Yes. And it's a practice, right? It's like, think about if you got 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years of beating yourself up, of not feeling worthy, of all of the absence of love, right? That we've done to ourselves. No, it won't take you just as long to do the opposite of it. And also, like, you are really skilled at this old way of being, and now you're just changing your way of being, and it just takes time. It takes practice. Like I always throw out the deadlift, example. It's like, if you want to deadlift, you don't just like decide and like one day you go into the gym and start deadlifting 150 pounds. You're like, okay, well, what gym would I go to? And like, okay, maybe I need to get a trainer, and then maybe I need to like check out the form, and like there's so many steps in the process, and then you just practice over and over and over again. So going back to compassion, right? Like it's okay that it takes time. It's okay that you catch yourself in a story. It's okay that it's like you can always like, sometimes people, it's like, oh, I fell off. It's like, it's not a problem, you just get back on. It's no problem.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to add that maybe I haven't asked, or that I left out, or I haven't thought about or haven't suggested?
Human design. Do we still have time to talk about that?
Yeah.
Worthiness in your design. I think I'm bringing this up to say that this is tricky, because again, there's not going to be something outside of yourself that is going to inform or alter or change your worthiness. However, I think you can look at your design to see, there are going to be clues to what your propensity is, or your capacity is, or how prone you are to have something make you feel unworthy. Even like the profiles. There's some profiles, like you're a fourth line. Fourth line needs to. Was it okay that I just outed you as a fourth line?
Of course it is. Yes. Listen, this is raw real. I don't hold anything back.
Okay. So
use Erin. I'm generator 4-6, emotional. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm a 3-6 generator. Non-emotional, but okay, we'll talk about that at some other time.
That's a whole nother topic too. Defined emotional solar plexus, I should say. We all have emotions. Like everybody takes human design to like the next level. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. No, right. We all have emotions. I just have a defined emotional solar plexus. Go ahead, Noelle.
But as a fourth line, community is big for
Huge.
you. And so if you have a fourth line who also has other things, maybe a kind of circuitry that's more involved with community building, you might be more prone to feeling like, am I good enough? Am I worthy enough? Because a big part of who you are is connecting with other people with a bunch of different standards of what is good enough and what isn't.
Mm.
Right? I'm a 3/6. Threes, life is messy and we make a bunch of mistakes and
You just experiment. I just say you guys just love to experiment.
yeah, and we get a lot of flack for that. So we might be more used to it. It might not be as devastating for a 3 for someone to say, "What are you doing with your life?" It's like, "Oh, it's just Wednesday. I'm gonna start again tomorrow. It'll be fine," But things like that, And then there are multiple gates where if you were in you're feeling more low vibe that day and you have that gate, you're going to feel like, oh, I'm not good enough. There's just so many things in the design that is going to affect and nuance your relationship with worthiness. But the key to remember is that it don't matter.
Yes.
We're worthy.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. That's what I would say. It's like always using your human design as a way to empower yourself.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, it's energy, 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 vibration, right? Like it's all worthiness, right? Like it's like gravity. There's nothing to discuss here. It's in the sense of it's just a fact, and it's almost like when you think about something that maybe your parents told you and then you realized it wasn't true. Like this is what I feel like worthiness is, right? Like we've been told that it is earned or that it is, you have to, do something for it. It's like worthiness, deservedness, lovability, done, fact. Nothing to discuss in terms of nothing to do. It's just who you are. And I think part of our journey on this planet Earth is remembering that that's true and factual.
Yeah. Well said.
So with that, where can people find you, learn more about you, work with you, connect, all the things?
All right. You can check me out at worthinessembodied.com. You can send me an email, which would be at heal at my name, Noelle Satisfies Souls. Those would be the two best ways. If you have questions, because this is the thing, worthiness is tricky, very individual. If I have no idea how to get started, I'm your girl. So yeah, Worthiness Embodied would be a good place to start.
I love it. I'll put all of Noelle's information in the show notes. And thank you all for listening and watching. And as always, Noelle, thank you for coming back, for sharing all of your wisdom and knowledge with us. Okay, until next time.